Handoff, Adrian up the middle, room to the 20, cuts to the left to the 25, and Adrian's loose! He splits the defense! 50, 40, 30, goodbye, baby! Touchdown!
We bleed purple, and our bones are gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome, behold. We are Minnesota Vikings fans. We love when a player scores.
Hey there, Minnesota sports fans. You are listening to the Purple People podcast. We're going to talk about all things Vikings today. My name is Kyle West, and alongside me, as always, my partner in crime. He is I'm going to call you the Merle to my Daryl Dixon. That's a Walking Dead reference.
I think I'm a Merle.
You think you're?
I think I'm definitely the Merle of this group.
Yeah,
here.
I think so too.
Forgive me if I'm a little drowsy. I took a nap of sorrow after the game here, so I just couldn't take it.
That's the next Megadeth record, right? Nap of sorrow.
But this is episode number 71 of the Purple People podcast, and I entitled it "The Pink Panthers." It's the Carolina Panthers, and it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So.
I was just gonna call it Major Disappointment. Just no.
I didn't even really want to name an episode, or to be honest, I don't even want to do this show because I don't have very much positive to say. But
yeah.
Good on you, Panthers. You kicked some butts.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go right into the quick hits. Do you remember that cheap shot that Sue took in that game a while back there?
I do.
Kyle?
I do. I believe he's going to get fined for it, right?
He is $100,000, the largest fine in history for an on-field play for that low block on Sue. Wait a minute, on Sullivan.
Sullivan.
He kind of closely blocked himself. I just threw himself on the ground, but now I'm stuttering anyway. So yeah, Sue's fine will stand.
Mm-hmm.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to Adrian Peterson. He lost his son in a terrible, terrible, disgusting incident.
I'm sure you guys have heard all about that one. We're not gonna go into details on it, whatever. You can find that elsewhere. But of course, thoughts and prayers go out to Adrian and his family, and just a tough situation.
Christian Ponder released a statement saying that he was disappointed and frustrated with the situation going on with the Vikings quarterbacks. And I don't blame him. I'm disappointed and frustrated with that too.
Yeah, we all are, Christian. Welcome to the club.
And another thing to be disappointed about with the quarterbacks is that we don't have one that we used to.
McLeod Bethel-Thompson.
McLeod Bethel-Thompson. Yep. Released to make room for Josh Freeman. And the San Francisco 49ers claim him off waivers. He is now a 49er. Maybe
our paths will cross and he will be back in 2014 for the Vikings. I hope so. I would like to see him back on the team eventually. You never know.
The Vikings signed defensive end Justin Tratow. He was a former New York Giant. He should be primarily a special teamer if he gets on the field, but we'll see about that. To make room for him, they released defensive end George Johnson,
who I believe we cursed by talking about him last week. You've heard of the Madden curse. Well, this is the Purple People podcast curse.
For a while there, I had a curse going with the name of the person in the title, so I kind of stopped doing that for a little while. If you haven't noticed. The Vikings agreed to a 4-year contract extension with defensive end Brian Robinson.
B-Rob.
And they are still in negotiations with Everson Griffin. So it looks like they're trying to sign those two bookends there to a long-term deal, and it looks like Jared might be the odd man out.
We talked about that ad nauseum during the preseason
Absolutely.
lead up to it, but it's nice to get one of those, the very first piece of those four back on coming back on the team.
Absolutely. And my final quick hit. The Vikings worked out defensive end Keyston Randall.
Okay.
Or not defensive end, defensive tackle. So they gave him a go. They didn't sign him. But at least they probably have him in there on their phone, speed dial, ready to go. If they liked what they saw.
If you watched the this week's game on TV, he's probably pretty happy that they didn't sign him, because I wouldn't want to be a part of the mess that was the Minnesota Vikings today.
Well, before we start talking about the game, let's give away our game ball and name a donkey.
Okay, you have someone deserving of a game ball?
I do.
Okay, I want to hear it.
I am giving my game ball to Kyle Rudolph.
Oh,
because the guy
yeah.
hasn't been there all year. And this week he has 97 yards and a touchdown on 9 catches, which shows that he is getting involved in the game like he should. 9 catches on 11 targets, a long catch at 23 yards, and that touchdown, even though it was during garbage time and it didn't matter, for some reason that made me feel a little better.
Well, it was nice to see someone out there showing effort. We'll get into that a little bit later on too, but it seemed like there was a distinctive lack of that from everyone else on the team. So even though it didn't matter, it was nice to see him put forth the effort in garbage time to get that touchdown.
Absolutely. I almost went with John Carlson, 2 catches on 2 targets, 12 yards. Oh,
Yeah, it's production. Carlson equals production, people.
That's right.
My game ball.
Give it away.
I am going to go with Jeff Locke.
Okay.
You know why? He showed a bit of his versatility today. He was able to get out there on a couple kickoffs and kick off for Blair Walsh, who had tightness in one of his legs. That was.
Yeah, he was having some hamstring issues.
Yep, and I'm sure they're just playing. I'm sure he's fine. We've seen him kick our only field goal, and he looked okay on that. But I'm sure they just didn't want to risk it, so they sent Locke out there and seen what he was able to do, and he looked decent on the couple kickoffs they used him on.
I was wondering if he was going to have to kick a field goal because I didn't know who the backup holder was.
Yeah, I don't know who that would be in that situation.
But from what I understand, it's Matt Castle.
Okay.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it sure would have been weird because he can't hold the football for himself.
Yeah.
Donkey. I just mentioned him. I'm giving mine to Matt Castle.
Okay.
Those 2 interceptions just got away from him. Both those picks were passes that he shouldn't have even attempted. He should have checked down, and he did have time in the pocket, and I just don't get it.
Completely agree with you 100%, Adam. It's stats lie. You look at the statistics, and you go, oh, he's 32 for 44 for 241 yards and 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. It doesn't even begin to tell the tale of what he looked like on the field. I had that awesome stat. Average gain per passing play for the Vikings was 4.6 yards. For the Carolina Panthers, their average gain per passing play, 8.7. So
A little different.
that tells you pretty much everything you need to know about how this game went for the Vikings today.
Not to mention that Cam Newton's quarterback rating was almost twice that of Matt Castle.
I think it's sufficient to say that any notion of continuing to play the hot hand in Matt Castle was pretty much buried and stuck in the ground underneath the Metrodome turf today.
I've got to say, my Facebook account has been eerily quiet from the Matt Castle supporters. They are not out like they were a couple weeks ago, and now you got people already chanting, oh, let's start Freeman automatically there against the Giants, which might not be a terrible idea.
Let's get to, I don't know what I just swallowed, Adam.
Oh, no, don't say
but
that.
But it wasn't not pleasant.
Oh, no.
That probably sounds a lot dirtier to the people listening at home.
It sure does.
What I intended. But We'll save Freeman and Castle and Ponder here for a little bit later on. I got to give out my donkey. Um, I'm going to go with the Vikings' entire defensive secondary. That's everybody back. That's Chris Cook, Josh Robinson, all those guys. You are all horrible. You all stink. You are going to allow the most passing yardage on a defense in an entire season in probably NFL history. I don't know what that number is, but we've got to be on pace to allow it against us. Uh,
Did you know that the Vikings secondary in this game had one pass defensed? One.
You won.
And that was Chris Cook who batted a ball down.
Congr-
There were two by Brian Robinson.
yeah. Yeah, congratulations, Chris Cook, on your one deflected pass. you get my you are my game ball alternative for that one. Seriously, it's bad.
Let's talk about the sad part of this game, though.
Which part? You can narrow it down to one.
A Vikings player worked really hard to get back on the field in a starting role.
Who?
And within minutes of play, I don't even know if he lasted a quarter. Desmond Bishop down with an injury to that same knee.
Mm-hmm.
Really sad, really disappointing to see that happen. I haven't gotten to read anything about what happened to his knee past then, but all I know is that really is a sad situation for him to work that hard to get back here and have that happen.
This is one of those games where it's really tough to even find a silver lining, because you looked bad, you got beat big time at home, in a game where it looked like in the third quarter you seen players who they didn't even look like they were trying. I mean, they looked like they had given up. And when you have a team that looks like they've given up, that's reflecting on the coaching staff and the preparation going into it. And that's not a place that you want to go.
And like I mentioned on my personal Facebook account, the Vikings had an extra week to prepare for this game.
And it didn't look like it.
No.
It looked like we were coming in on a short week. Like, we had just played on Thursday Night Football and we're coming in on a short week of preparation. And no, this is what they came up with after a bye week. And it's a tough one to stomach.
There were only two other performances, maybe three, that I thought were performances that were good. That was Jamarcus Sanford, even though he dropped that interception. Mm-hmm. He ended up with 7 solo tackles and 1 assist. I liked the play of Aaron Henderson. He was being disruptive. He was getting some tackles. He had 5 solo tackles and 2 assists. The other guy that I like to see, who was getting a lot of action and would have had a nice sack if not for a holding penalty on Chris Cook, was Chad Greenway.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the other 3 guys that I felt really were doing an excellent job. Now, if I were to make a list of players that didn't feel were doing an excellent job, that list would be a lot longer.
That would be pretty much the rest of the team. I don't even know. There's so much that went wrong in this game, and it was the kind of performance where you look at it and you go, someone should get fired for this one, in my opinion.
Well, to me, this game was a lot like the game against the Browns. Because the moment that I felt the team get crushed in this game was very similar to the moment I felt the same way in the Browns game. Now, the Browns, they had the fake punt. And then they had another 4th down that they went for and got. Now, Carolina did the same thing. They picked up 2 4th downs in the same drive that resulted in a touchdown in this game. And I think that really deflated this Minnesota team because Carolina came out really aggressive and went for the throat, like you thought a team as desperate as they are would be.
It reminded me of the end of the Brad Childress era in Minnesota. I'm talking about the game where the Green Bay Packers come in and they blow us completely out of the water. The score
Oh yeah,
was, I don't remember what it was offhand, but it was eerily similar to
it was disgusting.
it was
I don't remember that.
eerily similar to the score of this one. And the game was on a Sunday. Childress was fired on a Monday. And I don't think that we're going to go to bed tonight and wake up to Twitter being on fire with the fact that Leslie Frazier is gone come Monday morning. But at the same time, I would not be surprised if something is done come Monday.
Now, I feel that Leslie Frazier is not the one to go. I think he's putting way too much confidence and letting his coordinators have way too much authority.
Yeah.
He needs to step in and really just take control of them and really help guide them, because right now, whatever the offense is calling isn't working, whatever that strategy is, and whatever the defense is doing isn't working. And I don't know if you guys watched the same feed I did, because I had to watch it on the computer. It wasn't on the
Yeah,
TV.
same here.
But man, were they just making fun of the Vikings offensive coordinator for that little play card again.
That was Brian Billick, if you had the same telecast that I did. That was Brian Billick, who was the former, once upon a time, offensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. Spent a number of years with us. He was part of the Randy Moss's heyday from back when. And yeah, he pretty much proceeded to rip Bill Musgrave through and through the broadcast, especially
Yes.
towards the tail end of it when it was getting out of hand, to the point that he even said, you might as, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit here, but he goes, you might as well start Josh Freeman against the Giants next week, because the Vikings playbook pretty much consists of hand the ball off to Adrian Peterson and
He did make that
and
statement.
not much else than that. He went on to say, don't even worry about learning a 2-minute offense because you can't run one to begin with. Which is, I would be perfectly fine if they fired Bill Musgrave and brought back Brian Billick on Monday, because it can't get much worse than what we're seeing. As for Leslie Frazier, I don't think you'll see him fired, because what options do you have underneath him? You're going to promote Bill Musgrave to interim head coach? If you think...
You know, that might not be bad if they do that and bring in an offensive coordinator.
No, they probably just double dip and have him be head coach and offensive coordinator at the same time, which that has disaster road all over it.
Yeah, that just looks and sounds
Long
bad.
story short, I don't think there's anyone on the roster that you would promote. So he sort of gets to slide by for the rest of the season by default.
I had people on Facebook saying that if Frazier is let go, that Singletary should be promoted to coach.
Well,
And
why not?
that would be a big mistake in my idea, because I don't want to see Frazier go. He is a player's coach. But he needs the other side of the coin from his coordinators if he's going to be a player's coach. Someone's got to be the hard ass.
Mm-hmm. And you were exactly right about him. He needs to take control and regulate what's going on offensively and defensively. Because when Joe Webb is seeing the field more than Cordero Patterson, something is wrong. And we've been having this discussion for weeks and weeks and weeks. And we're hearing that, he says in week 2, we're gonna rectify the situation and we're gonna get him on the field. And you're seeing a little bit of bump in getting him out there, but come on. Get him on the field. It's not that hard. Get him on the field. Do it.
Yeah, the Vikings didn't trade all those draft picks to have a kick return guy.
No.
Especially in a league where kick returns are rare. I mean, today, Minnesota had no returns of any sort. Mm-hmm. No kick return, no punt return, no interception return. No.
Yeah. It's frustrating. because
I think that sums it up right there. It's
it's
frustrating.
frustrating, and you can't even make a statement afterwards because it's so frustrating that you don't know where to begin, even though we've been talking for 20 minutes on the subject.
I know a lot of the focus right now is on the quarterback, but there are so many situations where the Vikings defense just had to hold on. And it wasn't just this week. This week, the defense playing a little better might not have resulted in any huge change. But in the past couple weeks, that might have been enough to get some momentum and some confidence. But after this week, the momentum and the confidence is just shot. And then you got a team that's hungry for a win at 0-6. And you have to go to their home and play.
They
I don't know.
they legitimately looked like they quit today. I was watching the live stream online, and anyone who watches that knows that a lot of times you can't quite read what the scoreboard and the play clock says in the top corner based on the quality of the stream. True story. I thought we were at the end of the fourth quarter and the game was almost over. Just based on the way players looked on the field, no hustle, walking around with their arms at their side, looking disjointed. It looked like end of the game, 4 minutes left. Okay, they know it's over and there's no shot they can win it. Turns out there was still 3 minutes left in the third quarter, and there was an entire fourth quarter of football left to be played.
Oh, yeah.
It was bad. I mean, bad, and there's no other way to say it than that.
I went downstairs during halftime to do my dishes because I like to clean. I like clean dishes. And by the time I got upstairs, because I've got it down to a science,
hmm
like I can come back upstairs, put the game on, and I'll just catch kickoff. Well, by the time I got upstairs, Carolina had already scored that touchdown after the half, and I was staring at the TV like, what the hell?
Well, and there were stretches of the game where Carolina had the ball for such extended amounts of time that you could have walked to the grocery store and got a shopping cart full of shit and paid for it and came back home and Carolina would still have the ball driving it down the field because we could not stop them defensively. I mean,
That was one of the huge problems is the time of possession, because when your defense is on the field that long, they're going to be tired, because chasing those wide receivers is I can't imagine.
yeah.
Running after that quarterback, trying to get around those huge guys every play, doing that for 9 minutes straight. I don't know. I don't know how they do it.
And I don't even know where to go next with it. I mean, it was just that disheartening of a game. I mean, it's
The way Minnesota was in the other games was that they got turnovers. That didn't happen this game. And the way that they were in the other games is that they didn't turn the ball over an excessive amount of times. Well, we saw the 2 interceptions this week. So, everything that helps the Vikings to play well didn't happen. And everything that hurts the Vikings happened. For instance, we all wanted to see Adrian Peterson come out and have a massively awesome game.
oh sure.
Now, he only had 10 rushes, and I know people are looking at that saying, wow, that's not right. He should have had at least 20, 25 carries. Well, you got to look at it this way. With how far behind the Vikings were early, it's hard to run the ball and be effective.
Precisely.
Because you have to catch up on a lot of points. Now, Adrian Peterson averaged 6.2 yards per carry, with a long of 31. I don't know why the Vikings didn't stick to that running philosophy early. Try to hold the ball a little more, get a little more ball control, let their defense get a little more rest, rather than the 3 and outs or, maybe 5 plays and out that they were doing to get their defense just a little bit more of a chance. Because to me, this is absolutely unacceptable football that I watched today. I was on the borderline of being ashamed of being a Vikings fan today, which isn't cool.
I know. How do you think Mark and Ziggy Wilf feel about this, Adam? There were, it came out on Twitter that they were standing next to the tunnel as the players were walking through.
Yeah,
And
the looks on their faces were not those of pleasure.
and you got to remember, these guys just lost way more money than me and you are probably ever going to make combined in our entire lives on that that lawsuit. They just had that happen to them. They're not in a good mood.
Yeah. And they're putting in this money for the new stadium.
They're trying to sell tickets, and you know that stuff is going to get more expensive to pay for the new stadium. They're trying to make a Super Bowl push for the NFL.
And the Vikings come up,
and this is the product that goes on the field. Exactly. Unacceptable on so many levels right now.
Now, next week against the Giants secondary struggling with some injuries. The Vikings should be able to take advantage of the pass, but the Giants do have their bulldozer and Brandon Jacobs back.
Mm-hmm. Well,
the Vikings have been struggling to stop the run. Are they going to be able to do that?
It depends whether or not Josh Freeman is a spark to this offense or not. Because I really believe that you start him next week.
Well, let's take a look on the other side of the ball and let's talk about the other Josh Robinson.
Why is he still employed on this team, Adam?
Who is very, very, very much struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be honest. The Vikings should be able to get a couple interceptions off Eli Manning. He has been a turnover machine this year. If you aren't keeping track or watching Eli Manning's games, you are missing out because he is having one of the most horribly terrible performances that a quarterback can have, and he is one of the main reasons why the team is struggling the way they are. Is all the turnovers. If Minnesota cannot get turnovers on Eli Manning, they will not have a shot.
If we don't get a turnover against the Giants, I'm done watching football for the rest of the season because the squad might as well be incompetent, which they're borderline defensively incompetent to begin with.
I think this game really broke their spirits, and it'll be interesting to see if they can get that turned around in time for that Giants game, because getting that heart, that fire back is hard.
And that's going to come down to coaching staff. Can they motivate the players, like you said, to turn it around and get it back going, or does it go the wayside of what a lot of bad NFL teams do when we're 1-4, we've got blown out, and we're just basically done for the year? What's going to happen?
Well, let's be honest. But the Vikings had a solid shot at the division because the division was wide open. This week, the Vikings lost. Everyone else in the division won.
I read that coming into the game, we were like one game out from potentially making the wild card. And that's all just like gone to hell now after taking this loss and what the other teams win-wise were able to pick up. It's
not good.
Yeah, playoffs, to quote Jim Mora. What are we even sitting here talking about playoffs for? But
well, I'm talking about the playoffs because that's where the Vikings were last year, and this year they're not even going to be sniffing the playoffs. No. And to me, returning to the playoffs was the goal. I don't care if it was a wild card. I don't care if it was the number one ranked spot. Returning to the playoffs was the goal. Now, the Vikings could still make the playoffs. Don't get me wrong. 12-4, 12-5, or 11-5.
How?
It's possible.
You have.
Is it likely? No.
You have more faith than I do, good sir.
No, I'm just a mathematician. I'm not saying it's going to happen or that it's going to happen because I don't believe it is.
No.
But it is possible.
Not unless Josh Freeman is Brett Favre reincarnated. But...
Well, Brett Favre's still alive, so I don't know what would happen there. But
he is kind of old, so, reincarnated. He's what, 44?
And Freeman's what, 25, 26?
Yeah. Well, 44 under I would get too political with that joke, so I'm gonna I'll tell it to you after the show.
All right. But yeah, there's been a lot of players that I just don't understand their performance. It's nice to see that Blair Walsh was able to play. And it was cool that Locke was able to handle some kickoffs. Other than that, there isn't a whole lot positive to say. There really isn't.
Yeah, I don't. It'll be interesting to see what the team does moving forward. Because I gotta believe at this point you're playing for 2014. It's you stick in Freeman, you see if you've got anything with him. That helps you determine what you do in the draft for a quarterback. Castle did an excellent, fantastic job of proving that he's a backup quarterback today.
Yeah.
Christian Ponder, Jesus, I can't believe we gotta say it, but the jury is still kind of up in the air on him.
I don't think so.
I do.
I think the team has thrown in the towel on him. I really don't think we're going to see him again.
Depends on what happens with Freeman.
Because I think that we're going to see Freeman start at least a couple games. I think Freeman will play well enough not to have the job taken away from him. And I think that he will ride out the rest of the season. I think Ponder has seen the last of his time in Minnesota. I think the Vikings will try to sign Castle back
I don't think so.
as Freeman's backup, but I don't think that'll work out. I think they'll have to be finding another backup quarterback during the offseason. I think the Vikings are going to draft a quarterback, not early, a mid-round quarterback to sit behind both Freeman and Castle, learn, develop, all that sort of fun stuff.
Yeah, I don't.
But right now, I'm not sure if the quarterback of the future is on this team, but I know that I've eliminated Christian Ponder, and I know that I've eliminated Matt Castle.
And McLeod Bethel Thompson.
Yeah, he's the weakest link, I guess. They sent him away. All right, so
it was one final note that I thought was interesting is that Chris Cook was asked directly about Antoine Winfield, and he basically said, once again, I'm going to paraphrase, he wasn't going to comment on the situation because other players had commented on Antoine and had got in trouble for that. He didn't say who in the organization yelled at him for it. Spielman probably would be my guess. But someone doesn't want the players talking about Winfield. And I don't know, if you don't want us talking about him, play better on defense.
Yeah.
So what do you... Real quick, what do you think on that coming out? Just the fact that being asked about Antoine Winfield is enough to get a player in trouble.
Well, because he's a free agent, he's not part of the team. He was the guy the Vikings shipped out, and then tried to get back, and then got stonewalled. Who went to a team that the Vikings are kind of rivals with, not on the football field, more off the football field for that rivalry.
More in probably the fans' eyes than actually between the two.
Oh, you got to believe there's some sort of bad
sure that
there with the former offensive coordinator and all the players that shipped off over there. And
I'm sure there is, but anyway, go on, continue.
Plus, admitting that the team would like to have Winfield back is admitting that your defensive secondary isn't working or can't work. And I do think that this defense can work.
I don't.
I don't know about the personnel. I think they might need a couple personnel changes. I would like to see more stability from at least a couple of the players. And I don't know, to me, mentioning Winfield when he's not even a part of the team and most likely wouldn't even be interested in coming to the Vikings in this situation.
Not now.
At
1-4, no.
So that's how I feel about it.
I agree with you. You tend to be more level-headed with stuff like this than what I do. So that's why I like to get your thoughts on that, Adam.
Well, let's take a look forward again, and let's see, what do you think the Vikings have to do against the Giants in order to get a win or to look like a respectable team on a national stage, because the 1-win Vikings are taking on the 0-win Giants on Monday night?
Well, I am just really interested to see what happens, the dynamic in the group with Rick kind of taking a back seat and Daryl moving up as being the leader. Oh, wait, that was The Walking Dead that I was recapping.
Yeah, you
Yeah, I trailed off.
lost track.
I trailed off into The Walking Dead again. No, for the Vikings, quarterback play. It's going to come down to quarterback play and play in the secondary. Those are the two areas that they've got to improve upon. They've got to do a better job of getting the football in the hands of your playmakers. Cordero Patterson is your starter. Jerome Simpson is your fucking backup. Pardon my language, but he's the backup. Don't throw it to him 5 times in a row. Get the ball to Patterson. Get the ball to Greg Jennings. Get the ball to Kyle Rudolph. Get the starters in the correct spots. Get the backups in the backup spots. Get it figured out defensively how to stop the other team. I don't care if you've got to pull a Raiders from back in the day and clothesline someone. Just make them not want to throw the ball to your place on the field. Like, that's what they got to do.
So this week, when the Vikings said they were reevaluating everyone,
They didn't do a
and
good...
I'm doing air quotes
Yeah.
right now if you can't see, it seems like the only thing they were evaluating was the quarterback position, because the only real change was Matt Castle getting the start and Bishop getting the start. And now that Bishop's injured, I doubt we're going to see him in the starting role again. So, to be honest, I don't see what they were really even evaluating, because they could have turned on Facebook or Twitter and saw fans saying, hey, start Bishop, hey, start Castle.
They could have listened to our show and heard that.
I don't know. To me, it was just so frustrating this week to watch the game. And then it was my nephew's birthday, so I had to put on my happy face, come down,
Yeah.
and, cut cake and cook food and be all, hey,
You just...
when really inside my heart is crushed.
I lost interest in the game by about the third quarter. And from that point on, it was seriously like, I can't wait for the season premiere of The Walking Dead. That's what got me through the day. I can't wait to see what they're going to do. And man, oh man, did the Vikings ever let me down. But it was a good premiere tonight, that's for sure.
All right, on that note, I think we are going to call this show done.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to thank everyone for listening to episode number 71. I'd like to remind you to check out Facebook, Twitter. The Facebook page is getting more popular than ever again.
You betcha.
During this season, we got a lot of people with a lot of opinions, and it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about Twitter. I hope Twitter's being active for you and having some fun.
Oh, Twitter. We have lots of fun on Twitter, and you should tweet us. You should tweet me, because I enjoy all kinds of discussions.
Oh, absolutely. I'd like to thank everyone again for listening, and stay classy, Minnesota.
We bleed purple and our bones are gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome, behold. We are Minnesota Vikings fans. We love when a player scores, we roar, ignite the stands. We bleed purple and our bones are gold. We're the kings of the north, our slogan skull. No Packer, no bear, no lion can beat us. We will punish anyone if they try to defeat us. He's the MVP, appreciated greatly. Running all day, 2K, that's AP. Make a defense cry, or maybe beg. ACL stands for Adrian's crazy leg. He's the heart of the team, 28 holding up that Lombardi is a part of the dream. We will never give up, we find the faith to move past.